All right, guys. So here we've got the layout for the list me classified site. And what we want to do in this lesson, we're going to go ahead and build out this header we've got right here. It's going to be super simple to do. We're going to be using the theme builder. We're also going to be building out this footer, which is pretty simple. But again, this is not a design course. We want to show you how to work with Divi Machine more than anything. But, why not throw this in there? It's going to be good for you. It's going to be good for me. And you might be asking, in the last lesson, Roby, you said that you're going to be showing us how to make this stuff responsive, and you're absolutely right. I am going to be doing that, but I thought I would include it in this lesson because we're going to be working with the header and the footer. We're going to want to make sure that that stuff is displaying the way we want it to. And then I also wanted to highlight a feature of the new Divi, which is going to be the full front site editing. So we're going to be adjusting the responsiveness at the end of this level for both the header, the content, and the footer. So let's get right to it. So as usual, we're going to be starting on the back end of our Divi site here. And we do need to do a little bit of preparation for this. And that is just basically creating the main menu that we'll be having in our navigation bar. So let's go ahead and do that by going to Appearance and Menus. Now, this is just as you would create any other WordPress menu, a Divi menu that you want. I am just going to type in main menu. Why not? That works well. I'm going to assign this as my primary menu, and then we just hit create. So now what we're going to be doing is adding our categories. But when we click here, of course, we don't see our categories over here. When we look on our finished site, we've got all our classifieds, the for sale, the lost and found, and the free stuff in there. And then we'll also add one for my account. So how do we do this? Simple. I'm going to go here to classifieds. I'm going to right click this categories and open it up in a new tab. You can just browse there if you wanted to, but you're going to find those links here by just hovering and you click on view. So for example, if I open up my for sale category, it's going to bring up an archive page like this. These are, if you're not familiar with archive pages, that is just basically where your collection of posts for some post type show up. And we're going to be designing a page for this. So we definitely want to link to that. So I'm going to close this out. So what we want to do is for the for sale, we'll just right click that and copy link address. And I'll come back here to my site. And what we're going to be doing, instead of using these categories, we're going to go ahead and select the custom links. And the URL is going to be the one we just copied there. And now we will just type in for sale. And that's as simple as that. And you can see that gets added. Now, another thing that you almost always want to make sure that you have on a site is the home link. So I'm just going to put /. That'll take us to the root of our site. And I'll just put home in there. And now you can also see that you can drag these up and down. You can nest them inside of each other. That will make it a submenu. But home and for sale will be both its own items. So let's get the other ones in there really quickly. So we're going to get the free stuff. We'll paste the URL again, and I will type in free stuff. And then lastly, we will go ahead and get the lost and found, copy the link, come back here. And one thing I want to point out here is here you can see where that slug gets used again, right? It's got that lost dash found. So it is just showing how deeply nested that type of stuff is in Divi and WordPress and why you want to stay away from those reserved terms, because that would kind of blow things up for you and you won't be able to create things like archive pages for that type of stuff. So we set it up correctly from the beginning, so good on you. Now, the next thing we want to do is add the My Account page, and we'll just do that. And we haven't created this yet, but I will just put in /account, and we will put the link text, and that will just be my account. I will have that be available. So we're going to go ahead and add that on there. Simple as that. And now one thing you might notice is missing is this all classifieds link. And all we need is the slug basically for that custom post type. So the way we do that is we just can, if you don't remember it, go back here to the custom post types area, and we will see our custom post types. And you can see this link right here. You right click that one. And you can copy the link and we'll bring it right back here. So we'll just type that or actually paste it in here. And one more thing I want to mention to you guys here. Having the full URL like this is not necessarily the best practice because if you were to change, let's say, your domain name or something like that, it could create broken links on your site. So the best practice is to delete that HTTPS right up until the end. So this is what I'm going to be using. And then we'll just type in your all classifieds. And this will just basically be an archive page that'll have all our classifieds in there. I'll drag it right to the top. And I'll also actually go in and fix these guys to also just have that cleaner version. So you can see the HTTPS. But if I go, keep going here to the right, it's .local. So yours might be .something else. You just want to go ahead and pull that out like that. And then go to the next one. Same thing. Delete that. Next one. Same thing. There we go. Okay, so now if I save my menu and I refresh the front end here, there you go. Now we've got all of our links that we want to be on here. We haven't added the wish list yet, only because that we'll cover later when we cover adding the My Account area using Divi Machine accounts, which is one of the optional lessons here in the course. All right, guys, and now actually that I think about it after talking about the wish list, the My Account area is something that you really need Divi Machine accounts for. So I think it makes more sense to come add this along with the wish list at the end of the course when we're dealing with the machine accounts in that optional chapter where we are going to show you how to use that plugin, build out the My Accounts area that's going to be fully custom. Because as you know, the standard WordPress My Accounts area is rather dodgy and doesn't look that fantastic. So let's do it that way, and we'll be better for it because I don't want you guys to add a bunch of stuff in case you don't have Divi Machine accounts that you're not going to need on your site. I'm just going to click here and I'll just remove that out and we'll deal with it at a later time. So I'll just save that one more time. And now we can get ready and go into the theme builder. Okay, so here in the theme builder, we don't have any templates, obviously, because we haven't done anything, but we're going to do a lot of awesome template work in this portion of the course. So throughout this chapter, we're actually going to spend most of the rest of our time here. Now we're going to add a new global header by just clicking on that button right there and then saying build global header, since we're doing this from scratch. And what I'm going to do here, when we look at our header here, it's kind of broken into three parts. You've got the logo, you've got the text, and then you've got this button over there. So we can easily recreate that by using a 3-column header. And I think this one will do. You can go for the thinner one if you're going to use smaller logo or smaller text. And I'm just going to go as is. I'm going to put an image in here as I'm going to be using an image module. And I'm going to delete out that pre-filled placeholder. I'm going to use the Divi dynamic data. And then I'm just going to select the site logo. And bam, there we are in, and very pleasing. So I dig how that's looking so far. And for now, as always, we're going to just add all the content and then we'll think about styling it all. So next up, we'll add a menu module because we're going to have that text for the menu in the middle. There we go. And now you can see the logo option here. So you can add a logo from here also. But because I want a little bit more control over the actual logo image, I have set mine off to the side here. And then you can, add various elements. You can add the search icon, but we're going to have some awesome Ajax filters on our site. So we're not really too concerned with the search icon. Coming through here, we're not going to be changing much else. We might have to put a background, but that's already in there. So that's fine. And we'll get to the design settings here in a minute. Next up, we're going to go ahead and add a button module for that button that we have in the header. And it's pretty much almost there, but we'll just add your create new post, simple. And then for the link, we're going to use that link that we have in the top here. But since I'm in the visual builder here in the theme builder, I have to come over here and then we'll just select the new classifieds link. I'll copy that, come back here and drop that in there. As far as anything else goes right here, and we're not going to change anything. We're just going to work on the design coming up. So I think what we can do now is kind of work on the spacing here because obviously, and we can actually go ahead and save this and take a look at what this is done on the front end. So here I am, and let's refresh that. And of course, nothing. Why nothing? Because when you are working with a theme builder and you're creating a new template in the theme builder, no matter what type of template it is, you have to double save. So you save it here on your design, then you have to close that, and then you need to save your theme builder state. So you have to save it up here again. You only have to do that one time for a new template. But if I added another one, I'd have to go and save this whole area again. So if I come back here now and I refresh, you'll see that we have one massive header here that's going to need some help. So let's go and fix that and get things aligned a little bit better so things look fantastic. So Hopping back to the theme builder, we'll go into the header settings. And I also noticed that I'm probably going to want to add a home link to this image. So that's all stuff we'll deal with right now. First things first, let's quickly fix that image so that it does take us to our root. So what we're going to want to do is just for the image URL link, we put /, which will take us to the root of our domain, of course. So simple as that. We do want to make sure that it stays in the same window. Save that up. So let's get into the spacing settings for our section. We are going to make sure that we've got that set to have 0 padding at the top and bottom. So you can see that bumps up really nicely very quickly. And at this moment, I'm not too concerned with the padding that we have here. Let's take a look what we've got going on. It's actually quite scooched up nice and close. So maybe we'll have some minimal padding on the actual row also. So let's go to the row settings. We'll go to design. We'll go to spacing. And then maybe we'll just add 5 pixels top and bottom. And you see that goes up quite aggressively. So that's good. This is what we want to see. Another setting actually we want to do in the row here is we'll go to design. We're going to go to sizing. And we're going to set the width to be 100%. But as you can see, that doesn't do anything. We'll pull this out and now you see, whoa, okay, well, now everything is all the way off to the sides. That is also not necessarily the desired result we want. We want a little bit of padding on the side. So let's say 90%. And that kind of looks better to me. I think that's going to be more accessible on more devices and so forth. So let's go ahead and save that for the row. Now this image is still a bit large for me. So let's go into the settings for the image. We'll go to design and it has sizing settings, of course. So here we can say we want to give it a max width of, let's try 250 pixels. Oh, that's percent. It defaults to percent for some reason. I am not entirely certain why. Yeah, maybe 200 pixels will be better. Yeah, I'm much happier with that one. And instead of being all the way to the left there, it seems like we've got it a little bit more in the middle. Well, actually, no, I'm going to keep it on the left. I think that works well. Great. So let's save that up. And let's quickly just, again, the theme builder works really well with the visual aspect. So we can just go back and refresh here on the front end. And now you see I didn't double save, but you'll see right now that my header is looking much better already. Okay, so time to tackle this menu text. Let's get back in here to the theme builder. I'm going to go ahead and open up the settings for this. And now we kind of played around with these settings right here a little bit, but we'll go to design right now. We don't really need to mess with the layout option here. We're going to go to the menu text. And first, we're going to want to give it like an active link color. And what I'm going to be using is I'm going to make the active link orange so that we can clearly see which one is our active link up here in the bar. So next, we'll go down and then we'll select the regular menu color. So we'll just make that our blue, and you can see that goes in immediately. And we're going to want to bump up our text size a little bit here because we want people to be able to see this. And I think 16 is going to be good for that. And this is a spot where sometimes I like to put like maybe 1 pixel of letter spacing. So I'm going to keep it at that. But the most important thing here we will want to address is to right align our text so that we get it all the way scooched up to the right over here. And then what we need to tackle is this spacing at the top and bottom, and that is very easy to do. We only need to go into the spacing settings, of course, and what do you guys think we'll use? Are we going to use margin, padding and margin? The answer is padding. I'm going to add 15 pixels of padding at the top and the bottom, and what this is going to do, it's going to give it kind of like a room at the top and the bottom so that it centers vertically a little bit better. Alternatively, you can add some CSS and stuff like that. I'm not going to get into that with this, but you can vertically align that text with some CSS if you go ahead and make some changes to all the columns that we've got over here. But we just want to do this as pure Divi as possible. Maybe that alignment needs to just get bumped up a little bit by maybe 5 pixels. That puts it a little bit more in the middle. And I'm going to be happy with that for now. And any other changes we need to make later on, we'll go ahead and do that. Then next up, we've got the button here. We are going to go open this. And the first thing you see, we need to fix that hover effect that we've got going on. And if we look at what the site looks like currently, we've got this button style right here. And, I'm actually going to leave the button as is because when we finish the footer, I'm going to show you an easy way to just copy this and put it right there. It's going to be super simple. Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and save this. we're going to save our header one more time. And on the front end, we'll refresh really quickly. And things are starting to look actually pretty good at this stage. You might notice one thing though, that header is moving along when I scroll and staying at the top of the page. But what we really want that behavior to be is that it stays stuck. Now, that is easy to do. All we need to do is open up our section, because that's essentially a section that gets stuck to the top of the page. We go to advanced, and then we've got the scroll effects. It asks you, hey, what type of sticky position do you want? Well, we're going to have it stick to the top. And we can just go ahead and save that and save it one more time. And then we'll see whether that is giving us the desired effect. So saving that. Okay, with that refresh, now when I scroll, you can see that my header stays at the top. No need for any fancy CSS or anything crazy like that. That is awesome. I'm happy with that result. Cool. So next up, we got to deal with this footer way at the bottom here. And that is also easy to do. So let's get into that right now by hopping back in the theme builder and closing out our header. Okay, now, so as you guessed, to add the footer, all we got to do is hit add global footer, build, and then it's going to load up the Divi Builder. Now, footer over here has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. And this is going to go quite quickly because it's quite easy. We'll add another row. We'll add a 5-column row. And then we'll start adding modules. So the first thing we'll add is the image module for the logo that we have in that footer. And we can use those dynamic Divi settings again and just select the site logo. And there she is. Looks great. Next up, looks like we've got a heading, and then we've got some text. Now, again, you can do whatever you want. You can add links in here. You can do anything. This is just to kind of give you a run through with the theme builder and prepping you for the big heavy lifting with the theme builder we'll be doing real soon. So let's just add a text module here. And then what we'll do is we'll just say category 1, and we'll make this a H3. All right, cool. And maybe we'll just bold the text too. There we go. And then we'll just go ahead and add another text module. And this will be for a link. So we'll just say link 1. And there we go. So now we've got these 2 elements. Let's just copy a couple of these categories. Actually, before we do that, I think let's work smarter and not harder, as we like to do here. I'm going to go ahead and style this heading really quickly. So for the heading text, we're going to go to the H3. We're going to tell it, well, we want to use the blue color as we have over here. And we will keep the left alignment there. And there's not really much else I want to do. Maybe I just want it to be a little bit further down because I want it a little bit more aligned with that list me. So let's just go to the spacing. We'll add some top padding, let's say 15. And that is immediately what I wanted. So that's great. So let's save that up. And now we can go ahead and make 2 copies of this one. Is it 2 or 3? 2, right? Yeah. Okay. Drag one over. Drag the next one over. The Divi dance. There we go. Better. And then we'll just go ahead and change the text in there. And just make it category 2. And category 3. Now, I don't like the spacing between the heading and the link. So when you hover over this, you can see that it actually has a bunch of margin applied. So let's go ahead and go to the design for that. Go back to spacing, and then we'll just give it 0 bottom margin. And that scooches that text up quite a bit. And that's exactly what I want. And so we'll go in and add that for each of these. So we just put 0. Now, alternatively, what you could do is you could go on a configured spacing area and you could just right click it and say extend spacing styles. You can do it to all of them. I just wanted to jump in here for each one. So let's go and edit this text, and we'll go to design immediately. And for this one, we're just going to go ahead and deal with the plain text because this is plain text. I don't know, maybe it'd be good if we used kind of like this text style that we have up there. So let's go ahead and replicate that by giving it our gray text color. We're going to give it the light font, and then we just bump it up to about 16. And then we've got that link in right there. Okay, and I think that's pretty much it for the link. Now, if this was to be an actual link, of course, you would go to the text here. or you would just go and select your text and hit the link button, and you can go put the URL for the category of whatever you wanted to use in there. And then, of course, you can add any number of links here just by copying that one. And if you wanted to minimize that spacing, again, you'd use that same margin setting or play with that to get the effect that you want for the spacing between these links, okay? So next up, I will just go ahead and make a few copies just so it doesn't look so empty and drag it over here. Okay, so with all of those in there, coming back to our layout, we just need to add the social. Oh, well, it looks like I've got a contact here too. Fixing that up is as simple as coming back here. I'm going to say, okay, well, you're not a category anymore. You're a phone, because at the end of the day, all we're dealing with is text and links right here. So I probably wouldn't use a text module for that, though. I would go in and use a blurb. And then I would just maybe even not put a title. And then I'll just say some random phone number. I hope that's not actually somebody's phone number. So there we go. We've got that. We're going to put an icon. We're not going to be using the image. We're going to say phone. There we go. And when we come to design here, we'll just go image and icon. We're going to put the icon on the left side. And we'll maybe bump that icon size down a bit to 20 or 21. 21 is good. And then we shall just adjust that body text to match the other text that we have right here. So we're going to bump that up to 16. We're going to make it our gray color. And that's it. And then, of course, you know, if you wanted to make this a clickable phone link, all you would need to do is on the text here, of course, go to this area, and you would just, as you would add a normal link, go ahead and put just instead of the URL, you'll say call, and then the phone number or whatever, you know. So that is just a little bit on that. So I'm going to save that up. Cool. Now we're on the social link. So let's go ahead and type in the social and add the social media follow icons. Again, we come over here, we see, okay, well, we've got 3 of them. And we also actually need to add a heading, and that's very easy to do because we already have a bunch of headings here. So I'll just copy one of them, drag them over, and then I'll just call this socials. So back in the visual socials. And if you guys remember at the beginning, when we were setting up Divi, we talked a bit about setting up your social links. That's the one place you can do it. And the other one, of course, is right here. So firstly, I'm going to add Instagram also. There we go. And to get this style for the icons, all we need to do is go change some of the color settings. So firstly, we're going to delete the backgrounds off of these icons. We're going to say what we want it to do is be the orange color for the icon, and there you can see that it automatically changes. And if you wanted to affect the size of this, you can bump it up. Let's go with 21 on these. And you know, if you didn't want to do it here, of course, you can come to design icon here, and here you can make it 21 also, and that'll make all the icons 21. But for the background color, you do need to go in and delete that individually. So I'll delete that one. I'll go back and I'll delete the Facebook background color. But as with the other setting here for the icon size, you can also change the icon color to be orange. Very easy to do. And I think that looks good. As far as the links on these go, all you got to do is go ahead and put the link in, copy it from your social, and then it'll take the users there. So I am happy with that. I'm going to save that. And what I might also want to do is just for this row, let's make it the same width as we did that header when we started out. So we're going to go to design. We're going to go to size. We're going to drag this guy all the way over. And then we're going to put this at 95%. That's going to give it a lot of room here, but I don't think that looks too bad. And, you know, if we find that things don't look the way we want them to on the front end, I'm going to show you a trick on how to go ahead and change that. So I'm going to go and save this again, and then I am just going to go and close this. And of course, this is a new template, so we need to double save it. So click on that, and then let's refresh the front end, and we can scroll all the way down, and here we have it. Now, I talked about this button earlier, and I'm going to show you how we quickly just transplant that over. So I'm done with the theme builder for now. I am going to go to the front end here, and now we're going to utilize the full front side editing really quickly. We're going to enable that. And now, because we have these templates for our header, you can actually edit them from right here. So I can click on this button and I can delete it out. I'll come down here, make a duplicate of the button and drag it over here and then drop it. And there you go. It's right there in our header, but I think it's in the wrong side. So if I click into my header, well, it's not in the wrong side. It is just aligned incorrectly. So what I'm going to do is get into the button settings because it's left aligned over here. I'm going to want it up here to be right aligned instead. And now you can see that there's some issue here with the spacing. So this button, I will actually make a bit smaller by just changing the text size a little bit and affecting the padding. So button, and then we'll come here, we'll make the text tiny little bit smaller. And then I think the padding is a bit much for this button. So if we go to spacing, maybe we'll make that 10 instead. I think that works much better. And now what we want to do to get the button to come down a bit from the top, of course, we'll add some top margin. Let's try 10 pixels. And 10 pixels seem to be the ticket. Great. So there we've got it. Very easy, very quick to do. As far as the full front side editing goes, it does look like I've got a little bit of a different width here on these two headings. So I'm going to do two things. I want this logo size to be the same as the one on the bottom. And I'll click in to the footer. I'll go to design. I'll go to sizing. And if you remember, our max width for this was 200 pixels. Oh, and of course it defaults to %. I'll just put pixels there and you can see that gets a little smaller. And it looks like my column size here needs to be 90 and not 95. So when I go to the sizing, I'll bump this down just a bit. And now these two are in line. They're the same size. And I think everybody is happy. And looking here at what this one looks like, we have pretty much the same deal going on right here. Happiness for everybody. So that's it for building this out. Now, I promised you guys some responsive settings. So let's get to that right now. So now the way that we do this is I'm going to go into my mobile view. And we can see that things are kind of funky here, right? So let's deal with the header. And we are going to fix this we don't really need this button up here. So I'm going to hide that when we're on mobile. And for that, I can just hide the entire column. And then I'm going to put a few lines of CSS to give these guys room to look great on the mobile device. So let's open up the settings for the row. And first things first, and all the code will be in the course notes here. So don't you worry. I'm going to go to advanced, and then on custom CSS, we'll just tell the entire row to use display flex. And you can see immediately things kind of switch up here. Actually, what I want to do is I'm going to cut that, and I want to make sure that this is on mobile only. So using the responsive settings again, right? So I'm going to save that. So, well, I did not need to get out of there, but I'll go back in. Now, next up, we're going to not delete, but we're going to hide the button on mobile. So we go to advanced settings again, and here we just go to the visibility. And then what we tell it is that we will disable this column on mobile. So we can see the icon that's hiding underneath there. So I'll save that. And now just one more line of CSS for each of the remaining columns. Now, because we have two columns, we're going to dictate what the width needs to be, and we want two columns to show. So we'll set the width for each column at 50%. Now, if you wanted three columns to be showing, you can go ahead and put it at 33% each and so forth for any amount of columns. So you just take 100% and you divide it by the amount of columns you want to stay there. So let's go on the first column. I'll go advanced. We'll go to custom CSS. And again, we're going to activate the mobile, and we'll just type in width 50%. And now what I need to do also is just put in the important parameter in there, because otherwise it's going to read that original width that was set because it would override this. So I am going to copy this. I'm going to save it. And then on column 2, I'm going to do the same thing. Go to advanced, custom CSS, and I'll paste that right in there. And while we can't see this take effect right here, this is a Visual Builder quirk. I'm going to save it though and show you on the front end. So exiting the Visual Builder. Oh, okay. Well, that is not what I want. And I think I know what I did wrong. So let's enable the Visual Builder again. And, you might make this mistake. Don't wonder what the heck is happening. All you got to do is go into our rows again. And I think I messed up on that second row. If I go to advanced and custom CSS, yep, that's exactly what happened. I put it here in the main element. So let me just cut that out and make sure I go into the mobile settings again and paste it in here. Now, when I save that, the button stays in the right spot, so we're good to go. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to save my page, and then I'll exit the Visual Builder really quickly. Okay, button's in the right spot. We have the header working perfectly. Now, you can do this one of two ways. If you want to go inspect your page, you can use the mobile settings, and there we go. That's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. The header still stays put at the top. We're good to go, but we still have some other work to do, so we'll get to that right now. So let's just enable the Visual Builder. Now, the rest will go quite quickly because it's just really working with the text sizes. So first up, let's enable the mobile view so we can see what's happening. And you can see that this is going to fix itself too. Now, first up, we're going to adjust these text sizes for this text up here, text, heading text, and the text size. So we'll just make sure enable the responsive settings. We'll go ahead and maybe say something like 32. No, let's go 38. There we go. I'm happy with that. And then what we want to do maybe for this button, we'll center that on mobile. So again, we'll go to the settings, we'll go to design, alignment, make sure mobile is enabled, put it right there in the middle. Great. And then this padding that we have here is also probably a little bit large. So let's just open up the section settings, design, spacing. It's got 120 here. Let's go mobile settings. And what we'll do for the mobile is we'll maybe bump that down to about 40. What do we think? Yeah, I think 40 is a bit better. Yeah, that's looking better. And then, of course, we'll center this image as well. So we'll go to design, alignment, responsive settings, center. Okay, so this is already in the center here. So we just need to play with it a little bit and get it over to the side a little bit more. Or, you might choose to rather just disable that on mobile. That's going to be up to you. Again, this is not a design course. We're just showing you what you can do and simplify things a little bit. This heading text, we're going to want to make it a little bit smaller. So we'll go to H2, responsive settings. I will just bump that down to about 32 probably. Yeah, I think that's good. And wow, okay, so we've got some issues here with our carousel. What we'll do is go into the carousel settings. And this is why this is such a cool plugin, because we can actually control on desktop view, how many do you want to see? On mobile view, how many do you want to see? And so forth. So mobile post, so mobile view. Actually, let's go on the live site and take a look and see what that says. Because it says it should only be one, and I'm pretty sure it should only be one. So let's double check that. So let's save that. Let's save that, and then we'll exit, and we'll do the phone preview again, because the Visual Builder, again, it gets a little wonky sometimes. Exiting, and I'll go inspect my page again, and then I'll enable the phone view. So let's scroll through a bit here more, and it's actually fine here. So that looks good. We don't need to modify anything. Continue down. We'll just make sure to adjust all those headings, but the rest of it seems pretty good. All the counters and everything work fine. It's just those headings. This is also fine. And let's just double check the footer. Oh, the newsletter section, that text needs to be adjusted a little bit. Okay, great. And then maybe on mobile, we'll just center all of these elements. And then I think that's all we need to do. And then we'll be done. Cool. So disable that, enable the Visual Builder, and let's breeze through that really quickly. So the first thing I'm going to do is enable the mobile view. I'll just come down here and look at my lost and found. I'm going to go ahead to design. I'm going to go to heading text, H2, and then, of course, enable the mobile settings. And we'll set that to 32 pixels. And we'll just do that for all of them. Right, and there we go. All the headings good. So let's just get to the footer and do the last little bit of work here. We're going to center the image. So design, alignment, enable the mobile settings, put it right in the middle. We'll go to category, design, and we're going to go through these one by one. So I might speed this up just so I'm not wasting your time, but we'll just go through and center it just as we have for all the other elements thus far. Okay, and what I want to do for this phone, just because of the way the blurb works, I'm going to put the icon just at the top instead. Oh, let me actually undo that. We're going to want to make sure that we've got mobile enabled. So put that on the top. And we have to go and adjust the actual content text there also. So body text, we are going to want to get into the body text alignment, mobile, center, good to go. And then the socials are just as easy. We just go ahead and go to design, alignment, mobile settings, center. And that's it. We're all done. See, that wasn't so bad. Doing the mobile adjustments with Divi is quite easy because of the responsive tools in there. So this was another longer lesson. And I promise you guys things will start moving faster because next we'll spend probably a good amount of time on building out our first archive page. But after that, we're essentially just going to be copying it and changing some of the parameters. So you don't have too much longer to go in this course on building a Divi machine classified site. So thank you for your patience. I appreciate your attention. I'm going to catch you guys in the next lesson.